Good morning, fourth graders in Mrs. Jackson's class. Joelle, Madison, Christian. This video will help you with the synonyms and antonyms worksheet. So this is something we've already worked on, and let's read the directions. Again, if you're not sure, when you go to Tuesday, November 3rd for Mrs. Jackson's class, you'll see the worksheet right here, synonyms and antonyms. It is actually right above the character and plot worksheet that we just did. You'll want to click on the slide. This is the one we did before. And now we can answer this one. So synonyms and antonyms. So if you couldn't remember what a synonym is, it tells me here at the top in the directions. A synonym is a word with the same or similar meaning as another word. A thesaurus lists synonyms for words. And I always like to remember that synonym starts with a letter S, and so does the word same or similar. So synonyms are words that mean the same, like carpet, rug. All right. And an antonym is a word that means the opposite. So an antonym is a word that means opposites, like on, off, hot, cold. The words happy and sad are antonyms. And so there's one word here, the thesaurus, and that's a new word. It even sounds like a dinosaur name. Thesaurus. And a thesaurus is a dictionary that does not just tell me the meaning of the words, but it tells me words that mean the same thing as the word that I'm looking for. So if I used a thesaurus to look up the word happy, it might say glad as another word instead of saying happy. And sometimes people use a thesaurus to help them with their writing so they can use more sophisticated vocabulary words. All right, let's scroll down. And here are the words that we've been working on. These were from our story when we read about Reba Joe and how she went down and had to make a bargain with the toad, the horned toad prince. So this is from a few weeks ago, but the word was bargain, favor, lassoed, offended, prairie, riverbed, and shrieked. And you remember from that story, she was down there lassoing everything when she wasn't supposed to be, and her hat blew off, and the toad got it for her, and they made a bargain, and she had to play her guitar for him, and she did not follow through on the bargain, and he had to come to her house. So that was a good story a few weeks ago. So the practice says, use a thesaurus and a dictionary to help you answer the questions. We might not need to use this since we most likely remember what the words mean. All right, number 1 says, which word means the same or almost the same as plain? So because I'm looking for something that's a synonym, the same, I want a word that means something that's the same as plain. Now, plain, they're not talking about like plain pizza or a plain donut. They're talking about the land. And you can see up here the land. And remember, we talked about the word plain could be a prairie. So my answer could be, what word means the same or almost as the same? We could say prairie. So I wrote prairie means almost the same as plain. I started with a capital and I ended with a period. If you need to, you can always pause the video. Number 2, find a word that means the opposite of favored. Well, if you are favored, it's not when you do something for somebody, that's a favor. But if you are favored, it means you get treated nicely. You could be the person's favorite sister or their favorite student. And so a word that means the opposite of being treated nicely, something that would be good, to me would be offended. Okay, it doesn't mean exactly the opposite, but it could be offended, where you might say something that would hurt the other person's feelings. You would say, you offended me when you said my dog was ugly. Okay, so you wouldn't be in favor of his compliment or his insult. So the find a word that means the opposite of favored, we will say offended means the opposite of favored. There we go. And number 3, which word means the same or almost the same as deal? So if you're trying to make a deal with somebody, you do something for me and I'll do something for you, that would be a bargain. And I know that's a difficult word because it doesn't sound the way it's spelled, but it's bargain. So we can say bargain means the same as deal. Remember, I do type quickly, so you can always pause the video so that you can write these down. Find a word that means the opposite of shrieked. So shrieked is when I go, ah, and I yell because I'm surprised. But I don't see anything in my list in words to know that means the opposite of yelling or being surprised. Not bargain, not a favor. A lasso is when I use the rope. Offended is when I insult somebody. Prairie is like the plain or the flat grass. A riverbed, that would be here. That's the dried up riverbed. And shrieked is when I yell. So the opposite of yelling might be whispering when you talk quietly. So I think it would be whispered. Okay. Whispered. And I'm using that past tense ed because shrieked has ed. Whispered means the opposite. Opposite of shrieked. There we go. All right. And so that should be your last one. We already read The Great Outdoors yesterday in class. So there was nothing to do here. Please remember you can pause the video and then you can type the answers in. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in our Google Meet. Bye.